I don't think people understand the other side that comes with it. So they're so quick to call you strange and weird, but it's almost as if you're forced to be different because it's not normal, you know?
Michael Jackson and Lisa Marie Presley's marriage looked like a fairy tale on the surface. But behind the forced smiles and awkward kisses was a relationship built on manipulation, mistrust, and pressure. Was it love? Or a calculated move by the king of pop to repair his shattered image? And why did Lisa Marie say she felt used? What really happened in their secret phone calls years after their divorce might shock you. They came from two different worlds, but their pain was eerily similar. Michael Jackson was the king of pop. Lisa Marie Presley, the only daughter of Elvis, the king of rock and roll. Both born into superstardom, both raised in front of the world, and both scarred by the cost of fame. From the outside, they looked like royalty, but on the inside, they were two deeply isolated souls. They first met in 1975 backstage at one of Michael's concerts. Lisa was just 7 years old. He was 17, already a household name. Nothing came of it at the time, but that childhood encounter would come full circle nearly 2 decades later. By the early 1990s, Lisa was married to musician Danny Keough and had 2 young children. Michael, meanwhile, was at one of his darkest points in his life. The 1993 allegations had shattered his image. Brands pulled out, the media attacked relentlessly. His fame no longer felt like a blessing, it was a prison. That's when Michael and Lisa reconnected. What started as polite conversations soon turned into late-night phone calls that stretched for hours. Lisa later said she saw beyond the celebrity into a wounded man desperately looking for someone to trust, someone who understood the emotional toll of living in a bubble. And Lisa, who grew up watching her father Elvis deteriorate under the weight of superstardom, recognized that same lost, frantic energy in Michael. They spoke about everything: their dysfunctional families, trust issues, addiction, control, the price of being idolized but never truly known. She became his emotional lifeline. Michael made her feel important, needed, and at a time when her own marriage was crumbling, that kind of connection was hard to resist. But what started as comfort and understanding would soon twist into a relationship built on pressure, control, and public spectacle. It happened fast, almost too fast. In early 1994, barely months into their private relationship, Michael Jackson proposed to Lisa Marie Presley. Not with roses, not on bent knee, but over the phone. She said yes, and not long after, they slipped away to the Dominican Republic and got married in complete secrecy. No family, no press, not even her mother Priscilla Presley was told in advance. When the news broke weeks later, the world was stunned and confused. Why would Elvis Presley's daughter marry the most controversial man on the planet in the middle of the biggest scandal of his career? The timing raised eyebrows. Just months earlier, Michael had been publicly accused for the first time. His legal team was working overtime to salvage his reputation. And then, suddenly, he's married to the daughter of Elvis. It didn't feel like coincidence. It felt like strategy. Lisa Marie insisted it wasn't a publicity stunt, that they were genuinely in love. But her friends weren't convinced, her family was reportedly horrified, and many in the public didn't buy it. Still, she defended her decision. She claimed Michael was misunderstood, that he was kind and vulnerable behind closed doors, and she believed she could help him, fix him. But what she didn't realize was just how much pressure came with being his wife. From the moment they said, "I do," Michael's team began planning how to present the marriage to the world. It wasn't just a union, it was a calculated media event. And Lisa, knowingly or not, was now part of it. They appeared hand-in-hand at events, staged interviews, and even shared a now infamous kiss at the MTV Video Music Awards. But for all the public smiles, something behind the scenes was already cracking. Because for Michael, this marriage wasn't just personal, it was damage control. And for Lisa Marie, the deeper she got, the more she realized she may not have been in control at all. From the outside, their relationship looked strange. Michael and Lisa Marie's first major public appearance came at the 1994 MTV Video Music Awards. They walked on stage hand in hand, the crowd buzzing with curiosity. Michael paused, stared out into the audience, then leaned into the mic and said, "Nobody thought this would last." And then, in front of millions, he turned to Lisa and kissed her. It wasn't romantic. It was awkward, stiff, almost forced. The crowd erupted, but not with awe, with confusion. Instead of silencing the doubters, the kiss did the opposite. It confirmed what many had already suspected. Something about this relationship didn't feel right. Michael had always been intensely private, especially about his personal life. Now suddenly, he was parading his new wife on the world stage, with complete staged interviews and tightly orchestrated photo ops. Fans weren't seeing affection, they were seeing performance, and the question hanging in the air was impossible to ignore. Was this love or damage control? It wasn't just the timing, though the marriage came suspiciously soon after the 1993 allegations. It was how every appearance felt like part of a narrative Michael wanted the world to believe. Lisa Marie swore it was real. She gave interviews defending the relationship, insisting they shared a deep, private bond. But years later, her tone changed. In her sit-down with Oprah, she revealed that Michael knew how to use the media like a weapon, that he was a master of perception, and that at times she felt more like a prop than a partner. She described moments of doubt, of pressure, of being caught in a whirlwind she couldn't fully escape. The world was watching, but very few truly understood what was happening behind the scenes. And if you're a fan of Michael Jackson or want to go deeper into the moments the world never fully saw, this is the place. We cover every album, every era, and every side of the man behind the legend. So if you haven't already, subscribe now and don't miss what's coming next. Because the cracks in Michael and Lisa Marie's relationship, they were only just beginning to show. In public, Michael and Lisa Marie smiled, but in private, the silence was louder than words. According to Lisa Marie, Michael could be sweet, magnetic, even childlike in his vulnerability. But when things didn't go his way, he'd turn cold. He'd shut down completely. Days would go by without a call, without a word. She described it as emotional punishment, a way of keeping her off balance, always guessing. The pressure was relentless, not just from the outside world, but from Michael himself. He wanted children, badly. Lisa Marie had already been a mother, and she wasn't sure she wanted more, especially not under the growing strain of their marriage. But Michael pushed, over and over. It became a breaking point. And when she said no, his response was chilling. According to Lisa, Michael told her plainly, "If you're not going to do it, Debbie will." Debbie Rowe, a longtime friend of Michael's, loyal, quiet, and, as it turns out, willing to do exactly what Lisa wouldn't. It was a line Lisa Marie couldn't forget, and maybe never forgave, because that wasn't just a threat, it was a warning. She had entered the relationship thinking she could be a stabilizing force, someone who could love him back to peace, but instead she found herself pulled into a world that revolved entirely around Michael, his needs, his narrative, his control. Lisa would later say she felt manipulated, that the emotional games wore her down, and still she stayed for a while, hoping, maybe, that love could fix what fame had broken. But Michael wasn't slowing down. He was already making plans without her, plans that would turn this marriage from strained to shattered. Lisa Marie didn't believe he'd actually go through with it. But just months after their final argument about children, Michael Jackson made his move. He reached out to Debbie Rowe, a longtime friend, a nurse, and someone he trusted completely. Unlike Lisa, Debbie agreed to give him what he wanted without hesitation, a child, no strings attached. In early 1996, Lisa Marie filed for divorce, quietly. No dramatic press release, no bitter public statements, just a short, final step that ended the marriage many still didn't fully understand. But before the ink was even dry, Michael had another bombshell waiting. That same year, he announced that Debbie Rowe was pregnant with his child. Lisa Marie was stunned. He hadn't just moved on, he had done exactly what he said he would. And fast. Too fast. It felt less like coincidence and more like calculation. Michael married Debbie later that year in a small ceremony in Sydney, Australia during the History World Tour. The press labeled it shocking, bizarre, even strategic. To Lisa Marie, it felt like a knife in the back. She later described the moment as betrayal, not just because he had a child with another woman, but because it exposed the truth she had tried so hard to deny. Michael would do whatever it took to maintain control over his image, his narrative, and the people in his life. And Lisa Marie, she wasn't part of that plan anymore. Their divorce had been quiet, but the emotional fallout was anything but. Behind closed doors, Lisa Marie was still reeling, confused, angry, and hurt by how quickly she'd been replaced. And yet something strange kept pulling her back to him, because their story somehow wasn't over.
The marriage was over, but the connection, that never really died. Even after the divorce, Michael Jackson kept calling Lisa Marie, sometimes in the middle of the night, sometimes in tears, sometimes just to talk. According to Lisa, the emotional bond between them didn't snap. It stretched, twisted, and tangled into something far more complicated. She described it as a toxic pull. One moment, he was vulnerable, crying, begging her to come back. The next, he was distant, impossible to reach, surrounded by people she didn't trust. She called them vampires, enabling his worst habits, feeding the chaos around him, and shutting her out. And yet, she kept answering the phone. For years, Lisa Marie tried to help him, tried to reach the man she had once fallen for, beneath all the layers of fame and manipulation. But it was no longer about saving the marriage. It became something darker. She said he was addicted to drama, addicted to control, and possibly addicted to something far more dangerous. Lisa saw the signs: erratic behavior, emotional swings, increasing paranoia. She feared he was following in her father's footsteps, that Michael, like Elvis, was spiraling under the weight of his own fame. In a 2003 interview, she revealed something chilling. She said she told Michael directly, "You're going to end up like my father if you don't stop." His reply? Silence. She tried to walk away, over and over, but the cycle kept repeating. He would call, she would pick up, and the emotional roller coaster would start all over again. Lisa Marie wasn't just haunted by the man she'd loved, she was haunted by the version of him she couldn't save. And 6 years later, her worst fear would become reality. On June 25, 2009, Michael Jackson was gone. The news stunned the world, but for Lisa Marie Presley, it wasn't a shock. It was a fulfillment of the very nightmare she had tried for years to prevent. Her immediate reaction wasn't disbelief, it was devastation, and something even heavier: guilt. Just hours after the announcement, Lisa posted a raw, heartbreaking letter on her website. In it, she confessed that during their time together, Michael had once asked her a chilling question: "Do you think I'm going to end up like my father?" It haunted her, because in the end, he did. Michael died under eerily similar circumstances to Elvis, alone, surrounded by enablers, and lost in a world of prescription medication. Lisa had warned him, begged him, tried to pull him out of it. But as she later said, "I couldn't stop it. I was powerless." In interviews that followed, Lisa admitted she never stopped caring. She had spent years trying to move on, but Michael kept a grip on her heart. She said their relationship was intense, consuming, and at times terrifying. But she had loved him deeply, even when it hurt. She described their bond as deeply connected but destructive, a constant push and pull between needing each other and tearing each other apart. And when he died, she realized just how much of herself had been tied to saving him. Lisa Marie's grief wasn't just about loss, it was about regret.
Regret she hadn't done more. Regret that he didn't listen. Regret that he died surrounded by people who didn't love him the way she had. She couldn't save Michael Jackson, and for the rest of her life, that would haunt her. But even in death, their story wasn't over. Because the public still had questions, and Lisa Marie still had something to say. To this day, people still debate their relationship. Was it real love or a carefully crafted illusion?